Have you ever wondered how to get straight lines like this in your artwork, or even curved lines like this? It's with a ruling pen. And today I'm going to show you different methods for using this ruling pen. Right here I have a few examples of what we're going to practice. This is a watercolor panel that has French matte lines around it. This is a French matte line. This is a rounded French matte line. And you might wonder, what are French matte lines? This is what people have traditionally used in picture framing, maybe around botanicals or other artwork. Originally, the ruling pen was used for draftsmen, and they would put their ink in this a long time ago. And the advantage of it is that you can make the lines small or large just by rolling this little wheel on it. The other advantage, though, now is that you can use this in artwork, and it's often sold in, these are sold in art supply stores now, although I prefer the antique ones. You can make little branches and lines, maybe some wavy grasses and other wavy lines. I even have masking fluid right here that's dried, and I can show you that after it's dried, you can make, you can do the cat's whiskers or dog's whiskers. And look at this. The masking fluid repels the paint. And then you have your clean looking whiskers. So those are a few ways that you can use them. And so you're probably wondering, well, how do I do this? And so, well, first of all, you would draw your line. And I don't have one, but if you have a ruler that has a cork back on it, it's best, because sometimes it's easier when you're first learning if this sits off of the paper. And so I'll put it along my line like this. And I'm just using gouache, which is an opaque watercolor, but you can use watercolor, fluid acrylics, ink, or, like I said, masking fluid like we did over here. And so I have put some in a little palette right here, and you have to just mix it up to the right consistency. Obviously, if you're using ink, it will be the right consistency, but it needs to be kind of watery. And then what I do is I take this, and you decide on how wide that you want the line, and you just drop a little bit of this in here. Another advantage of this is that it will hold more than a brush. So if you have a lot of detail that you're doing, you may want to do this, and you need all of the lines to be kind of uniform. So then I just take a scrap piece of paper, and I'll test the line out like this. I'll go tap, 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 and see until it comes to the end of the pen right here. Then, of course, I can see how fat the line is, or I can make it thin if I want to. Some French matte lines or lines that you need to make are really thin. And so once I know that that's in there, and I've measured my line, I will just take this and go along the edge like that. And look how easy it is just to make a straight line that way with paint. And you can mix any color of paint you want, or use any color of ink. And so that's really an advantage. I'll try one that's a little bit fatter here so that you can see how that works. All right, so here we go. I did not test it out. Let's see. Here we go. So if you had pencil lines like this, you would also, after this dries really well, you can use what's called a kneaded eraser. and just tap the pencil lines like this, and it will take the pencil lines off. If you have corners that you're doing, you can actually join the corners really easily, but you would measure out all along, your square or your rectangle opening for your mat. And we'll do that one another time, but I'll show you how easy it is. If you have a French curve, this works a little bit better, but this is just the top of an oatmeal container to show you that you can do curved lines, which is really nice if you're doing calligraphy and you need to put an underline there. Okay, so I'm putting this in. You can see where this is going in, and I'm going to make it a little bit thinner, so I screw this screw on it right here. Sometimes it gets dirty on the edge, so you just have to take a little bit of a paper towel and clean off the edges so it won't drip everywhere. And it's really important to test it out first, because you don't want to mess up your nice paper or a mat when you're doing this. So look at this. Isn't that great? I just love the way that that works. And then while I still have a little bit in the ruling pen, I'm going to show you how you can make these little tree branches. Might want to make it wider in some areas. Also, I'll put a little bit more in, and we'll try to make some grasses. And obviously you would use the color that you would need to do this. You can mix your own greens. You can mix some, multiple colors, and that way you have just a lot of lines. I think it would be really pretty on a sea painting, doing coral this way. But you can go. And I ran out on that one, but you would just keep adding some if you needed it. And like I said, you can do all kinds of patterns with it, and also the masking fluid. So I had done this watercolor panel up here, but what I did first was down here to demonstrate it is that I painted a little bit of watercolor, and you have to let it dry really well. And so you might wonder, well, gosh, how do I do that? And see, my line is not perfect, but when you put the French matte lines around it, it will look perfect. And I think that people are not looking as much at the lines if you're doing it around other artwork as they will just the artwork itself. And so I like to use a natural bristle brush, and this one is going to be the gouache watercolor, and you just start painting. And if you're doing a long line, you just have to keep a bead of water going so that there won't be a line. And so this is what I'm doing here, just trying to follow this line a little bit. This one may be a little bit darker than the other one that I just did right there. Okay, and so that one, of course, would have to dry, but I can show you what it will look like with the French matte lines around it. And I want to make sure that I have enough of the paint in here I really like doing lines with gouache, but it really does work with watercolor and ink just as well, and also fluid acrylic, like I said. So I'm going to get enough water in my brush. I'll show you how I'm mixing that up and then putting some more in my ruling pen. Okay. So on something like this, you really might want to make sure that you have a ruler that has cork behind it, or that has another raised slot on it. So this is what I'm going to do right here, is put the line on. And you do really want to be careful if you're doing this for a really good job, just to see where you're ending. There, I would be ending over here. If you do that, you have to wait until it dries or turn it over, and then you can just finish the end right there. But that's how easy that is. And if any of you are not familiar with masking fluid goes on clear, then dries like a plasticky finish. And so after you put your watercolor or your acrylic on top of it, and by the way, if it's acrylic, it works better on paper. It doesn't work really well on canvas. Then you can either take a rubber cement pickup or another type of eraser. I don't recommend using a kneaded eraser for this sort of thing, because it holds the masking fluid too much. I don't have my rubber cement pickup right now, but here we go. I'm just gonna, you can use your finger like that if your paint is already dry and it pulls up. Here we go. But see, look at those nice whiskers now. And if you had to, you could go back with your watercolor or gouache and touch it up a little bit. The good thing about gouache or even fluid acrylic is you could do that right on top. But if you're doing watercolor, sometimes you need a different type of a line. And but that's what I wanted to show you for today. And if you have any questions or have any special requests about seeing this in other artwork, please let me know. And if you would ever like to know how to include other designs around your work and make it really easy for a type of calligraphy or other painting, just let me know. Please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.